Hey everyone, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we're taking a closer look at and walking you through the install of the set of C&L rear brake calipers here in red, available for a wide variety of 2006 to 2020 Chargers. In fact, feel free to reference the site for your exact fitment here, as there are a number of different trims that these will apply to. Now, you should be checking out these options from C&L if your factory rears are seized or maybe just seen better days, and you're looking for an affordable replacement that will have some nice perks over your standard parts store replacements. Now, talking features here with the C&L rear options, and I would say the short and sweet way to sum these guys up will be a slightly better than new factory caliper thanks to the bright red powder coating, which really will help increase the looks. Now, I can think of a few different reasons why these might be beneficial. One, maybe you are a Charger owner and you've already upgraded your fronts or maybe even painted the factory Brembo calipers red, and if so, these would make a nice complement to those upgraded fronts. Now, the only thing that I'd say that would make this even more of an upgrade for the rear is possibly even throwing in a set of slotted and drilled rotors and a matching set of pads, and you're basically good to go with a 100% fresh setup. Now, if that's something you are interested in doing, well, you can find a few different options from C&L along with PowerStop here at AM for your Charger. Now, moving into our construction segment, and I do want to point out the fact that these are a remanufactured or Reman OE Dodge caliper, and what I mean by that is these are going to start off life as a factory rear Charger caliper, and from there are refreshed and upgraded. For instance, these are going to receive things like brand new seals, brand new boots, brand new hardware, brand new pistons, bleeder valves, you name it, it's all 100% fresh and new. And then the cherry on top is really going to be that bright red powder coat that really helps set these apart from some of your generic parts store replacements. Now, finally, guys, just to ensure everything is going to be 100% good to go right out of the box, the C&L calipers are each pressure tested first before being shipped out. Price point for the pair of C&L rear calipers will hover in that mid to high $100 ballpark, which does make these a little bit more expensive than some of your generic parts store options we've mentioned throughout the video, but ultimately not by much. Now, I will say that powder coating with the C&L option still going to be about roughly $50 more affordable when you start comparing these to the PowerStop OE replacements that do not come with any bright red powder coating. So that is something worth mentioning, guys, but at the end of the day, if you don't need the powder coating, you could probably find something a little bit more affordable both here on the site or possibly elsewhere. Now, moving into our installation portion of today's video, site's gonna call this a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and about 3 hours or so to complete from start to finish, as there is a bit of work involved for this particular job. For instance, obviously those factory rear calipers have to be removed, reinstall the C&Ls in reverse order, bleed the system, all that good stuff. So that will factor in to the overall timing of the job. But to give you a better idea of how this one might go down at home in the garage or driveway, let's check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, a caliper hook, hose pliers, flathead screwdriver, 10 and 18 millimeter wrenches, an extension, 13, 15, and 18 millimeter swivel sockets, and 11 and 13 millimeter sockets. What's up, guys? Today we're installing brake calipers on our Charger, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is pinch off our brake line so that we don't lose a bunch of fluid, and I'm gonna crack this bolt on our banjo fitting for our brake line. So I'm gonna take a pair of hose pliers, crimp that down, and then we'll take a 15 millimeter socket. I'm just gonna crack this for now. And I'm gonna get a 15 millimeter socket and 18 millimeter wrench to remove our lower clamshell bolt, and then we can fold this up and remove our brake pads. And I'm just gonna throw that bolt back in. Next, we can take an 18 millimeter socket and remove our 2 caliper bracket bolts. Now I've got a caliper hanger here. I'm just gonna hook up on our sway bar. That way we can hang the caliper from there and not put any tension on our brake line. And for the second one, just get a hand on your caliper to support the weight. Then you can pull the caliper off and hook it onto that caliper hook. So now we can install our new caliper. Now you're gonna have two holes on the back. One's your bleed nipple, and then one's the hole for the bolt for your brake line. You wanna make sure that bleed nipple is on top. And then you can slide this into place and thread in the factory bolts. And then we'll take our 18mm socket and tighten those down. So now with our caliper mounted up, I'm going to take a 13mm socket and 18mm wrench to open up this clamshell, and then we can put our two brackets in and our brake pads. Next, we can install our brackets and our pads. We're just going to slide these into place. And then you can take a little bit of brake lube, and we're just going to lube up the metal where our pads are going to contact. You just want to make sure to keep this off the rotor. So now we're ready to install our pads. Now this one has a circle on there from the piston in the caliper, so we know that one's going in the back side of the caliper. Slide that into place. And you can just do that same thing with the front one. And then you can close up your caliper, reinstall that bolt, and we'll grab our 13mm socket and 18mm wrench and tighten that down. So now we can transfer over our brake line from our old caliper to our new one. So I'm going to take a 13mm socket and finish removing that bolt. I've got a drain pan right under here to catch all the brake fluid that's going to come out. And now we have a new banjo bolt here. I've got a crush washer on there already. So I'll put that through one side. And then I'll get another crush washer on the other side of our fitting. And then we can thread this into place. And then we'll take an 11mm socket on our ratchet to tighten that down and crush our washers. And then we can remove our hose pliers. So now we're ready to start bleeding our new calipers. Now you're going to want to start with the one farthest away from the master cylinder. In this case, it's going to be our passenger side rear, which we're on right now. And then from there, you're going to go to the driver side rear, and then the passenger side front, and then the driver side front. Now I've got kind of a homemade brake bleeding device here. I've got a bottle with a tube. I've got some fresh brake fluid in the bottom of the bottle. We're going to hook the tube up to the caliper. There's a hole drilled out of the cap for the tube, and another smaller hole drilled out of the cap for a vent so that you don't build up pressure in here. As soon as you take this hose off, you'll have brake fluid flying everywhere. So now we're going with the old two-person method here. I'm going to crack the bleeder valve while I have a buddy in the driver's seat that's going to hit the brake pedal. One thing to keep in mind is to make sure that you keep your master cylinder filled up so that you don't run it dry. So now we can come to our bleeder And we're gonna pop that rubber boot off. So now one thing to keep in mind is to make sure your master cylinder has brake fluid in it. You don't want to run it dry. So as you're bleeding, just make sure to top it off as you need. Now we're using the old two-person method here. I'm going to be cracking the bleeder valve while I have a buddy in the driver's seat pressing the brake pedal. So we can come over to our bleeder valve. We're going to pop off this rubber cap. I'm just using a flathead to get under it. And then I'm going to throw a 10mm wrench onto that bolt. And then I'll hook up the tube for the brake bleeder. And now you can tell your buddy to hit the brakes. They're going to hold down that pedal while you crack open the bleeder. Then you'll close it up. Your buddy can get off the brakes, and then we can just repeat that process. Hit the brakes. Now we start having some fluid come out. Hit the brakes. Now we still have a lot of air bubbles in here, so we're going to keep going until we get a solid stream. Hit the brakes. Hit the brakes. Hit the brakes. And now we have a nice solid stream of fluid there. I'm going to drop the bottle down, pull the hose off. And then you just make sure that your bleeder is all the way tightened down. And then you can reinstall your cap. And then you're just going to repeat that same process for your 4 calipers. We're on the passenger rear, and then you go driver rear, passenger front, driver front, and then you're done. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the C&L Performance Series rear brake calipers in red for your 2006 to 20 Charger all-wheel drive SE, all-wheel drive XXT, Daytona, GT, and RT with dual piston front calipers. Thank you for watching, and for all things Charger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.